Dark Matter Blades on sale, and let me guess, Dark Matter... No, I heard about the Dark Matter, really the Wander Helm. Ah, boy. Again, never have anything good in this place. Hey guys, welcome to the second year anniversary art show, and let me tell you something, this video has been an absolute pain to make. So, I've actually been kind of sick with a respiratory infection throughout basically the whole week. I got it on Tuesday, and then struggled with it ever since then. It's currently Sunday, which, if you guys are paying attention, that yes, this video is going up on the same day I'm recording it. That's because I've been effectively trying to rush this out. Now, originally I was going to have this done yesterday. However, the way I was going to do it didn't really work out, because I was going to do it off my Chromebook and Google Slides in order to hopefully have me talking in it instead of just text on screen like last time. However, for some reason, my Chromebook all of a sudden doesn't want to pick up audio, despite the fact that it's done that before, and I don't get why. It just won't give me that. Like, even if I select the option, it just won't give it to me. So, I'm going to try something that should still enable me to still talk during the video and still release my thoughts on it, but it should also give me a chance to... It's going to be a little bit more complicated during the editing portion, but it should still work. Outside of that, I really hope you guys enjoy. Year 2 has been definitely a lot better. And I guess I'll talk about that a little bit more after we get back from the actual art. So, see you guys till after the art show. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Are we good? I think this should be working the way I hope it is. I got no idea, but yeah, here's hoping everything doesn't like fall apart. So yeah, welcome to the second year anniversary art show. I really don't know what to say for it this time. Last time I just kind of dived into it, so I mean I already did the intro. Might as well just dive into it now. Starting off, we have numbers. It's the same image I used last year, mostly because it's just a good, clean-looking image of numbers. Used once, I guess technically it'll be used twice at this point, but outside the art show, it's only ever been used once. You can only see it in the character card in the community post tab. And I still think it's a pretty clean image of numbers, all things considered. One thing I have noticed I've done is this weird thing with this crest. Last year I thought they were scoots. That's only because I didn't realize what they would be called in this case, but yes, those are crests, not scoots. I got my information mixed up. Is this thing I do is where one half is the way I want it, but the other half kind of shoots up for some reason. And I got no idea why I keep doing that. Like, I generally look at a lot of like the images I've drawn of numbers, and that is a constant problem I constantly have. I keep telling myself it would probably be easier for me just to like go in, copy and paste it like during like the digital coloring part of this thing, where I just go in, copy and paste and flip to the other side. But then it's like, I don't know why I just don't fix it. But yeah, this is basically just base numbers. This is just what he looks like normally. I am starting to notice a lot more of this like the triangle in his hand there, or at least like the more sharp area like right there. We can definitely tell it's a hard outline. I don't know if anyone like read the description of the last art show, but I do these physically by hand first. I do the outlines by hand, and then I know a lot of people use a scanner for this, but I just take a more complicated way with like a photo, and then cleaning up the photo, making a hard outline and things like that. So yeah, the coloring and stuff is digital. I do some cleanup there too. Ultimately, it just ends up being not the best, I'll admit, but still working in a lot of cases. After that, we have Beatrix numbers. This was used once for the Slime Rancher April Fool's video. This one was another rush job, so this one was intentionally a rush job because it wasn't actually supposed to be like anything real. It still looks fine for what it is, I guess. There's a lot of, like, when you look at especially the torso and the little, not really too sure to call it, like, legs or tails. He technically floats, but you know what I mean. That section where essentially like one's like a hard triangle and no curvature at all to the part there, definitely tells something's a little off. And again, the crest doing that thing. Again, it was more of a rush job. Here you can actually see Numbers has his brown eyes, have just black eyes. I don't know why in the world I keep going back and forth on that. I keep telling myself just pick one color and just keep going with it, but For some reason, I just keep going forth between black eyes and brown eyes, so... I don't know. After that, we have piracy numbers. This one again has like a problem with the crest being uneven, especially that one on his left one. That's gonna be on our right. That one just, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Again, it was for April Fool's, so I just kind of figured, hey, if it looks good, it looks good. His thighs/legs are a little awkward because they're a lot longer than what they should be, but in order to make him actually look like he was sitting in the actual video, they kind of needed to be. It's kind of weird to look at, especially like you're not looking at, especially like when he's just essentially just sitting there on nothing. But yeah, that's kind of, it's kind of just, it is still awkward to look at. After that, we have Parabid numbers. This is the actual first piece of art for that year. Essentially because I finished Mario Wonder, and then I move on to Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battles. Parabid number was used 9 times, used for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle episodes 1 through 17. It was also used for the Ancient Gardens Ultimate Challenge and the final episode, so that's the reason why the numbers don't really... They don't look like they match up there, but I really just didn't want to open my... I mean, actually, I probably could have just, like, typed it out a lot more. Still, though, I think this one actually still looks great. I was a little concerned if I was adding too many spots to the actual Piranha Plant part of him. But then I actually looked at Piranha Plant, he actually has a ton of small spots on him, so... Ultimately, it ended up working out. I still actually, it's still it's still somewhat decent. Like, I can only imagine the side angle on this thing if you actually like draw it more, but it still ends up working out pretty well. Outside that really thin thumb on the one holding up the staff, but I don't know why I'm nitpicking my own art so hard, but hey, I mean, it worked for what it was. Again, he has his brown eyes here. I know I'd switch that up eventually and go back to the black ones for like some reason, but hey, well, I don't get why I do that, but it's just something I did. After that, we have Blizzy numbers. This was used 10 times. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, episode 8 through 15. Also, the Sherbert Desert, the Ultimate Challenge, and the final episode, similar to the rest of these. So here's the weird thing. The crests here are actually done this way on purpose for once, because I thought it would make the crown, if that's what that's supposed to be, I guess. It made the crown stand out a lot more if his crests were actually pointed a lot more upwards. And I also used darker blue here, I'm pretty sure, compared to his normal crest color, because usually his body's a lighter blue and his scents are a darker blue, but here they're like a lot darker. I don't know if I can actually like do like a full-blown comparison right now, but you know, ultimately I still ended up doing, really liking this one. Originally I wasn't actually going to do Blizzy, I was going to do Sandy, numbers as Sandy, and then during the second half of Sherbert Desert, where everything got a lot more colder, because like the first half was mostly based on, well, okay, the first half after the mid-boss is mostly based on sand and stuff, but then in the second half it gets all cold and chilly. So that was originally the plan, but eventually I ended up getting, I ended up getting the Blizzy art done, and so I ended up using it. I don't know why I gave him little frosty cheeks, but weirdly enough, I think it works. Ultimately, I still do end up liking this one. It was a kind of pain to draw, I know, but I'm pretty sure I actually complained about that in the actual episode where I fought the mid-bosses, but you know, I still like the way it turned out. After this, we have Sandy Red numbers, used 10 times. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, episode 8 through 15, same other instances as the other ones. So originally this was going to just be regular blue numbers, and again, the crest kind of done awkwardly, that's because he has something on his head. I don't know why the heck I keep doing this. Again, you would assume after like a year, and well, going on like 2 years drawing this guy, I would eventually fix this problem, but surprisingly enough, I'm still doing it to this day. But yeah, this was originally going to be regular base numbers, but I ended up changing it to just be red numbers because I figured I might as well just have another use for the guy. I mean, I have an alternate color of numbers, which essentially works if I ever need 2 of him in a case like this. One thing I do notice I kind of messed up with is that Sandy doesn't actually like ride in the tornado. She rides on a stone that's on top of the tornado, so I did kind of mess up there. Another thing I also kind of realized I messed up on is the fire on a red character. Originally it was blue, but again I changed it to red. To, you know, essentially give me the reason to use both of them. So it's a little tough to see that, especially like, you know, when it's on like a thumbnail or something like that, and you're not like too close to your screen. But still, I ended up liking this one. After that, we have Calavera numbers. Used 10 times, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle episodes 16 through 22. This one was honestly a pretty decent one. I think really enough because of the hat, I managed to actually get the crest right this time. They're a little squished down compared to what I would normally like the map, but that's only because like the hat is there. Drawing numbers with like a top hat on was surprisingly awkward. Tentacle coming out of the hat. Again, Calavera does not have that in game, but he does in his profile art, so I decided to say screw it. I gave him like little, I don't know why the heck I gave him like little cuffs around his non-existing wrist, but I ended up really liking them. And the tie is based on Phantasmas from Mario and Luigi's Dream Team. I still wanted to keep sort of the bow tie feeling of it, because that's what Calavera has. And, you know, it still works out in the end. Originally his body was going to be covered in tattoos similar to Calavera, but I could not do those tattoos to life of me. Every time I tried, he just came out looking awkward, so I just kept his body blank. I figured it was a better idea for me not to try and just roll with this rather than just be probably offensive, if I'm being honest here. After that, we have Lava Queen numbers. This is probably my favorite one I've made so far. Admittedly, the eyes here were kind of a pain, but I'll get to that in a second. It was used 13 times for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle episodes 22 to 32. So, actually, was it? Actually, yeah. Again, that's not including the Ultimate Challenge in the final episode. So his little fur around his collar, little hair around his collar. I had to stylize it a little differently. I know with a lot of these, it's not too consistent, I'll admit, but usually I try to keep it somewhat the same. Ultimately, I did kind of go all on my way here. I don't know why I chose the Lava Queen instead of Mecha Jr., because Mecha Jr. technically was the mid-boss of that game, but I guess the Watrio also did count as mid-bosses, so ultimately I'm happy with the one I picked. Again, the crests are going a little higher up than what I would prefer them to be, but that's only because of the crown and mask. Like I was saying about the eyes were a shocking pain to do because the actual art in the 2D image I have, I don't actually have like an image of that saved anywhere. His eyes were completely lopsided, so inside the actual art software I used to color IBS Paint, I had to completely redo his eyes. I think it worked out for the best in the end, but at the same time it was still very funny to me that that's what actually happened. Okay, moving on to Bad Banana Numbers. Used 14 times for the Mario plus Rabbids DK DLC, episode 1 through 13. Ultimately, I still do really like how this one looks. My one problem with this one, surprisingly enough, is how round his head is. So from a side angle, I try to keep Numbers' head pretty rounded. Usually from a forward-facing angle, it's kind of like grape or olive shape. Here, it's supposed to be a lot more rounded, but I think I made it too tall. And ultimately, I kind of hide that using the face paint there, but when you notice, it's kind of obvious, and clearly it didn't really work out. Has a giant round head. But again, I kind of hide it decently well, so you may not even notice. Originally, he was actually supposed to have a shark cover up the top of his head, but the reason I didn't do it is because I kind of got sick and tired of covering up the top of his head. That's generally the actual reason. So he doesn't actually have anything up there. He instead just has the lower half of the shark for some reason and nothing connected to it. I still like how this one turned out at the end. I decided to give him a different weapon compared to... It's mostly based on Side-Eye, obviously, but I decided to give him a different weapon this time. I don't know what a banana staff would do, but that's a choice. Then we have Trip in Numbers, used 10 times for Sonic Superstars. Still end up really liking Sonic Superstars. I know it's probably a pretty C-level Sonic game, but I still ended up liking it. This is probably the first time Numbers has actually been depicted with somebody else there. Again, his crests are completely jacked up there, especially the one on the right. I don't know why that keeps happening to me. Maybe I should start her on the right end first now. Maybe that'll fix my whole issue with this. But yeah, Numbers is sitting there next to Trip, who's a character I surprisingly enough really like. I'm actually surprised at how well I managed to draw her here. There's a couple of mistakes. I think the arm that would be on our left, her right arm's a little funky because of how long it is. And strangely enough, I remember the actual 2D image, the uncolored art. Her foot was actually done correctly. I don't know why the heck I messed it up in the actual facing phases, but I guess that's just how inconsistent I am. But ultimately, I still end up really liking this one, despite, you know, like, again, nitpicking it to half to death. And again, I still ended up really liking Sonic Superstars. Now we have cursor numbers used 53 times for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Good gosh, that series went on for way too long, and I am only myself to blame. So, cursor numbers. Again, inconsistent crash, but that's just gonna be a given at this point. Cursor numbers was surprisingly easy to do. Originally, I was gonna do all the Spark Hunters, similar to how I did all the mid-bosses for each world in Kingdom Battle. That's why I realized that not every world in Kingdom Battle has a mid-boss, or has a Spark Hunter mid-boss. Like, you would have the Giant Wild Claw and Terraflora's freaking Giant Wiggler, which I've already voiced my opinions on that thing, so I decided just to stick with Cursa throughout the entire point of the series. As a result, I wasn't really able to draw much, but for Cursa, I kind of went decently all out. I know the swirl in Cursa's hood is technically from the base up, but I did the other way around so I can have Numbers smile in there. And his hands are actually done differently. They're supposed to look a lot more like Cursa's astral arms. So they're a lot more realistic, I guess. That's a way to put it. A little shine on one hand. Again, I really did like how this one turned out. So, not really big complaints from me. Outside of just the inconsistent crest, but that's just how it is. 2K numbers used once for 2K26. I'll say this, despite being a rush job, this one turned out pretty well. The outlines here are pretty thick. That's the reason for that is because I actually used a pretty thick Sharpie. Normally I use like a thin pen for a lot of these hard outlines, and those translate a lot better. But here I use a really thick Sharpie, and it didn't really work out. Usually you want to, if you're going to use a Sharpie for an outline, you usually want to make the image bigger. And I kind of restrict myself in the size of how much paper I use when drawing them on physical paper. But again, being a rush job, it turns out surprisingly well. I managed to make the sweat actually look like sweat and not like anything else in particular, but still though, I think it worked out pretty well. I don't know what team colors he's rocking, I'll admit, but you know what, that's pretty funny to think about. That number says, essentially his different costume for a specific basketball team, but has no idea what the heck that is. Moving on, we have Waning Mask numbers. This was used 6 times for Kirby Fighters 2, so I don't know if anyone's ever went back to that series. That was one of my series where I did the gameplay but no commentary. That was for Kirby Fighters 2. Originally, the original image for the thumbnail was just numbers, but with a kind of a traced Kirby art, I'll admit. And I said in my original art show, which is what I think is the only place you can find the original now, is that basically everything went wrong with that entire bit of art and with thumbnails and things like that. Eventually, I decided I was going to redo it just to, not necessarily cover all my tracks, but just to prove that, you know, hey, I can actually try. I have better skills now, I can go back. I did not really force myself on a time crunch or anything like that. Again, it's weird to me how I keep telling myself I need to stop rushing a lot of my art, and yet I still keep doing that. But yeah, I went back and I changed a lot of the art. Like I said, you only find the original on the first art show. And I gotta say, this one's a lot better. After that, we have Waxing Mask Red numbers. Trying to fit all that in one line was an absolute nightmare. It's the same thing. This is the first piece of Red numbers recolor art, technically. I know he was Sandy, but this time around, I just flipped the image, did some minor modifications, and flipped the stripe onto the other side of his thigh in order to match properly. Still though, I think it worked out well. I don't know about having like a little red tail of the, I guess that would be a mask. A little red tail of the mask coming out the back, especially because it does match his body color a little too well. It's a darker red than his actual body, but I can definitely see how that could probably get a little conflicting. After that, we have spawning numbers used 4 times for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Power, and Doom. Again, another piece of art of numbers next to somebody. I decided I was going to keep the star theming consistent whenever he was with somebody else. Again, I've talked about my feelings about the Tower of Doom and how well they messed up spawning. it does kind of suck. Again, he's my favorite, so obviously I was going to have him with numbers. He's just nuzzling him there. And it ultimately still did work out pretty well. The crests here aren't actually done wrong, it's just that angling thing. Again, he's a lot more, he's facing away from the viewer a lot more here, so the crest is turned to the side a bit and hidden behind the head. So it still worked out in the end. I know Spawny does not have toes, but I added them there because I thought it'd be a cute detail. After that, we have Spawny in red numbers, similar to all the other red numbers art. He has, we've inverted the colors. Spawny is now, instead of white, he's now a bit of a darker gray. It was kind of a pain to do because I didn't want the gray to match numbers, red numbers as fingers. Other than that, everything worked out pretty well. Although I won't lie, Spawny does look kind of evil here. That still worked out. After that, we have Kanya numbers. Kanya numbers was actually kind of a pain to do. Used 11 times for Mario plus Rapid Sparks to help the last Spark Hunter. This one was actually kind of a pain to do because I could not get Numbers' two iconic fangs to like really work with the whole like metal smile. It was kind of a pain because originally they were there. I don't know if you can like barely see like where I tried to keep them in, but eventually I decided to say screw it, I'm just gonna have the entire thing just be sharp teeth. But yeah, I add that in. Big bushy eyebrows, kept them black because I guess Numbers' eyebrows are just naturally black. His crest would change to hair. I'm not really too sure how it worked out in the end. On one hand, I kind of like it, but on the other hand, it does look kind of awkward. It's supposed to match Kanye's look, and it's still kind of funky. It's weird to look at. The dress went well. The hands are supposed to be more cupped than what they are at the end. Now it just looks like he's holding his thumb. But I still think it kind of works, weirdly enough. So yeah, ultimately I still am proud of this piece. After that we have Rayman numbers. For used 8 times for Mario plus Rabbids, Rayman and the Phantom Show. I know this kind of breaks the theming of a lot of this stuff. Originally I was supposed to use like a villain of each game, except, you know, the Tower Doom, there wasn't really a villain there. I wasn't going to draw Numbers as like a giant boss anytime soon. But here, I think it ultimately worked out. Again, angling things so that the other crest is hidden a little bit more behind. I did get better with the crest, I won't lie here. You can barely see them, but he does actually have his eyebrows raised here. He's floating in Rayman's iconic pose. It's a little awkward given his body shape, but I still think it works out. He has different gloves compared to what Rayman normally has. Normally his gloves are like cover everything, but here the fingers and thumbs are like exposed. I still did like that DLC. Rayman was a pretty fun character, and I don't know if I'll ever use this art again if I ever play a Rayman game. I'm probably not. I'm just gonna like make a new one. But still, I think this one worked out. Okay, now moving on to Boss Blitz. This is Scrappy Werepig. I was a little concerned if I was going to be able to draw this Nightmare Werepig again, especially in the Scrappy form again for the second time. And I kind of wasn't able to. I know I probably could have just like added some assets onto the original art, but I decided just to redo it. And I'm still actually happy how this one turned out. One thing I'm not happy about is the little antenna on the eyepiece there. For some reason, I completely forgot to color it, and so it's completely transparent. However, everything else worked out surprisingly well, all things considered. Fists are a little more rounded than I guess they would normally be, but I still think it worked out pretty well. Then we have claws, also used once for Boss Blitz. So weirdly enough, part of me kind of feels like I went with too much detail on this thing. Sometimes I think like a little simpler is better, especially because you're not gonna see like a lot of these things for too long. I guess with the Boss Blitz portraits, they're a little bit more easy to spot. So yeah, this is obviously based on Winter's Feast claws, which if you ask me, it's just claw-based design. So if I'm correct, our left, his right hand is actually a copy-paste reflection of his left hand, because originally it looked a lot more funky. Again, I give myself limited space when I'm actually drawing these. Claw's a pretty big guy. So in the actual editing, the actual coloring phase, I just have to copy and paste it over. And it still worked out well in the end. Again, I feel like it may have a little too much detail, but I also could be wrong. And then we have Dragonfly. I was actually surprised at how well I managed to pull this one off. Used once, also for Boss Blitz. I'm a little concerned about how the eyes were going to turn out at the end, but it still worked out pretty fine. I didn't know I was going to go for completely solid black, but you know, like a little light gray shine on into the little light gray shine with some actual shadow on it. I don't really have shadows all that much, I'll admit, but I still think it worked out at the end. I don't know what I was thinking about the palms. I don't think Dragonfly actually has like hardened palms like that matches her underbelly, but I could be wrong. I don't actually have an image of Dragonfly on me right now, but I still think it's a cute extra detail. And again, I still did like how this art turned out. After that, we have the Celestial Scion, used once also for boss splits. So this one's a little funny, because it looks very different from the original Celestial Scion in-game. The reason for that is because I was trying to add a couple more creative liberties to it. So part of the reason for that would have to be the fate. I kind of discovered that I really hate drawing messy wires. I don't know why I have such a problem with it, but I really, really do. And so I kind of added these like little, I guess, Warbot-esque feet to it. And the reason I did that was because there was actually like an original character I made for something completely different that was based on the Celestial Scion. And for that I had these, they weren't feet there, but they were more like hands, I guess gloves technically you would call them. It was to cover up the whole messy wire business, so I tried implementing that the other way around. And I guess it kind of worked out. The eye in the middle is supposed to look a lot more like altars from the actual game. And again, it ends up looking so different that I don't know how I feel about the end. Part of me still kind of likes it, but another part of me feels like I'm going a little too far from the original source. So, I guess I end up with mixed opinions on it. I still use it. I thought we have the Armored Bearger. This one was kind of a pain to color because of the whole smearing and blending thing like that. Also, trying to make sure his fur was dark and not like jet black, so it blurs in with his outline. It was also kind of a pain to do. If I'm correct, I actually got his muzzle wrong here. That was the original color from the first release of the game, or like the beta release of the Host of Horrors update. But I added it in as like kind of a cute reference to it. It still works out at the end. I don't know if like a little wisp effect around his eyes are like all that wispy enough. It still kind of looks like still looks more like a... I'm not really sure what you would call it, but it doesn't look like energy flowing off of his eyes. After that, we have Crystal Deer Clops. So, weirdly enough, in the time lapse that it is IBS, right? Because I feel like I'm messing that up, because IBS, I'm pretty sure is actually like a freaking irritable bowel syndrome. IBIS paint. Okay. Well, in that app, they actually give you like a time lapse, and this one for some reason took me dang near an hour, I think, maybe even 2. I don't know why. I guess I was just cross-referencing images, or like I stopped halfway through but didn't exit the app. So, Crystal Deer Clops, a lot of like smearing colors together in order to like get the ice effect looking right. Took me a while. I still wanted to get the hands kind of fuzzy, and it still kind of ended up taking me a while. I'm pretty sure I completely forgot the ice spikes coming out of her face. Deer Clops is a girl now. I gotta remember that. And those have to be added in post. So the outline on them are a little different. Used once also for boss splits. I think I messed with the face. The face is actually going to be a lot more gray and not just the same white as the body. So that is one thing I did mess up here on. But then we have the Possessed Bard, which doesn't look nearly as hostile as the original. Used once also for boss splits. Shared the episode with Crystal Deer Clops because I managed to beat that boss so quickly. So the Possessed Bard here was kind of weird to draw because, strangely enough, drawing a Bard was something I actually struggled a lot with. So originally I was going to try to there was actually like a beta design or concept art design that I was actually going to try to draw it instead and make that look like the Possessed Bard. But at the end I decided just to completely just do it on my own. And it looks a lot less hostile, I'll admit, like this. My design is a lot more cute. But I still ended up liking the way it turned out. It doesn't look nearly as ferocious, but I still think it works. It has a better wisp effect around the eyes compared to Armored Bearger, so I still think this one worked out for the best at the end, and I still really like it. After that we have Ancient Fuel Weaver, which was kind of a rush job to get out, I won't lie. It was kind of a pain. Everything I was doing was rushed in at the last second. And I'm glad that episode was pretty short, all things considered. I gave him actual feet. And made his arms a little bit thicker so you can actually see the bones in them. I also had the Shadow Atrium into his chest to sort of like play on the fact that you need that to wake him up. So I still like how this turned out. The head I feel like probably could use a little bit more work. It looks a little too blocky. So yeah, used once, also for boss splits. Now we're on to the never used arts. This was the Warbot. This was also going to be used in the video where I fought the Warbot of Celestial Scion. Used never. And was going to be used for boss splits. I didn't go with it because I kind of just didn't like how it looked. it looks like a rush job without really being a rush job, so I don't really rush myself when it comes to a lot of the boss splits portraits. That's why they turned out to be a little bit better than what they normally do. But yeah, it's missing a lot of detail and stuff like that. Ultimately, I just decided not to use it, and I still think I did the smart decision of not doing that. Then we have B numbers. I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be me trying to do him as Bia, because I didn't get the idea to actually draw numbers as the wardens until like halfway through that series. So that was kind of a waste. Use 0 times, used for nothing. So yeah, he's dressed up as a bee here. His outline is thicker because again that would be using the Sharpie as before, but again prefer not to do that. His mouth is actually done in was actually done in IBIS paint, and again it just ends up looking a little awkward. Oh, these three. I think I'll save these guys for another time. That should be it for the art show. Again, I'm actually just a little surprised that we managed to get past the number that we had last year. When I set it all out, I was last year I think it was 21 images. This year was I think 29, which surprised me because, as I probably said, all that the entirety of Sparks of Hope took up most of my time, and that was mostly just one image. Well, ultimately, I hope this next year ends up going well. And hopefully I grow a lot more. Yeah, once I get the live stream back up and running, because I don't know exactly what I did to mess it up last time. Hopefully things can get a little bit more smoother. Just copping a quick victory there. I'm way over level for this fight, by the way. So yeah, here's to hoping this next year goes a lot better than this one. Even though this year's already gone somewhat smoothly for me personally, outside of a lot of the other problems with YouTube and things like that. Till next time, stay cool.